a letter from the President of the Public Health Agency of Canada that included the government talking points. Canadians don't want talking points. They deserve answers. Why are they getting more black ink and more whiteout from this government?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we can all agree that parliamentarians deserve to be able to look into all sorts of different facets of what the government does, including and particularly around issues of national security. When I was in opposition, Mr. Speaker, we weren't able to do that because the Conservative government had a secretive approach that refused any sort of oversight, which is why we brought in the National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians that would allow parliamentarians from all parties to get the kinds of clearances involved to be able to follow up. That is the right venue for that level of transparency, and we hope that parliamentarians will use it.
Well, member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Canadians send us here to get accountability from the government, and the Prime Minister is very careful in his words. That's a committee of parliamentarians, not a committee of Parliament. A committee of Parliament has legally ordered those documents that this government even saw fit to redact the lines for the media that were included in the package today. That's how far these Liberals will go to hide the truth from Canadians. So is the Prime Minister going to be voting today for the motion to have the documents handed over to the committee, or is he going to continue his cover-up?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Again, Mr. Speaker, these issues have come up. They came up many times when Stephen Harper was Prime Minister, because on issues of national security, there was very little accountability, there was no oversight, there was no transparency. So we created a National Security and Intelligence Committee of Parliamentarians on which seat members from all different parties who are given security clearances so that they can look into the most sensitive issues around national security. And they have done extraordinary jobs and put out many important reports. And that is exactly the way for all parties to get accountability and insight.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
It doesn't sound like openness by default, like this government promised us. It sounds like the Prime Minister should be charging Stephen Harper rent for living inside his head for the last 6 years. The documents show that this government refuses to answer very simple questions. We know that Dr. Fei Hu Yan was a Chinese national associated with the Chinese military. We know the students that were escorted from the lab were also reported to be Chinese nationals. Why is it that the passport of the two scientists that were walked out all of a sudden a national security concern?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, we all understand that there are certain elements that confirm that are of a level of national security interest, and governments deal with those around the world all the time. What Canada has finally done since 2015 is equip itself with the same kinds of oversight by elected parliamentarians that other countries have long had. We looked at the ways that the UK and the US and others handle sensitive national security issues, and we created a national security organization, committee of parliamentarians to do just that. That is the oversight that we have provided.
The Honourable Member for Leeds, Grenville, Thousand Islands and Rideau Lakes.
Again, Speaker, allow me to educate the Prime Minister. The UK uses a committee of Parliament, not a committee made up of parliamentarians that reports only to the Prime Minister. Let me offer a quote from the Chief of Special Pathogens at the lab in Winnipeg. Quote, historically, it's also been easier to obtain material from us as opposed to US labs. Well, don't worry. He's only talking about why China would ask Canada for the Ebola virus. This government's approach to China from the beginning has been incredibly naive. Is all that black ink just covering up this government's biggest national security failure?
Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, again, issues of national security are of utmost importance to all Canadians, and that's why they elect parliamentarians to hold governments to account. But on the issues of national security, it is important that there be higher levels of clearance given to parliamentarians who can properly dig into it and ask all the right questions. That is why we move forward on creating a national security committee of parliamentarians so that they can do the excellent work that they have been doing over the past many years, including with outstanding representation from the Conservative Party of Canada on that committee.
The Honourable